What's up, everybody? It's your boy Ty here, and I would like to welcome you to this course on 3D modeling and rendering. All right. I would like to thank you for joining me today, and my name is Fatai Opoye, and I'll be your instructor. I'm making these course to give students a jump start to the world of computer graphics. We'll go over some theory and dive into some practical applications to help drive home the message. I want to thank you for choosing this product and look forward to engaging with you. All right, so what I'd like to first do is kind of go over the outline for this course that you're about to take. All right, so there are going to be a series of video lectures, some PowerPoints, and there are going to be assignments that go along with a lot of this information. So we're going to start with some history of 3D modeling and computer graphics, the modeling fundamentals, rendering for presentation, portfolio creation, and maintenance, and getting a job versus freelancing. All right, so the assignments are going to include creating your ArtStation page. Let's see, then there's going to be the coin model, the crate model, the barrel model, and in between, interspersed in those, are going to be your quizzes and the final exam, all which you will have a link for that you can then just take and submit the answers right after. And I'll be able to get you your grades or back as soon as possible. What I'm probably going to do is just automate it to just send it to your email as soon as the quiz is done, so you have immediate feedback as to how you did on the quizzes and exams. All right, so just a few notes that all assignments are due at the start of the next class period. Make sure your work is posted to the forum and artstation.com for review. Let's see. Today we're going to talk about the modeling process for a coin and how I go through that. This is by far the simplest model we're going to start with, but there's a lot of information jam-packed in here. So be careful, pay attention, and hopefully you guys learn something. All right, let's dive in. So the first thing I usually do is let's see, let's change this slide momentarily. I'm still kind of getting used to this. Google. Let's like this. All right. Now that we've cleared that, now let's look at Google and see what we can find. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to type in this Mario coin. All right, and we'll see what pops up. So this is the idea. This is what we're trying to get to right here. All right, so eventually yours is going to look something like this, and I like this kind of presentation, except what's going to happen is you're going to do one with its front, 3/4, and a side shot, right? And those are going to be your three basic kind of render templates for pretty much how you should present in the long run. And we're going to do kind of like a beauty shot or something where you've got these coins kind of stacked up and you can get like a cool render like this, something like this out of there. All right, so there's a few different processes that go into making something like this. And the first step is to find adequate reference. When I say adequate reference, I mean reference that is high quality, gives you good information, right? And you can know what's going on and use that to model to the best of your ability. So you're not having to guess for most of what you're trying to do. You're not having to guess shapes, sizes, and stuff like that, right? The better the reference you have, the better you're going to be when it comes to the modeling process. It's going to be easier because you know where the landmarks are. So what I like to do is I like to go through and look at some of this some of the best references out there. This is like the best one out there. You can see that it's got this bevel in here, it's got another bevel in here, and then it's got this squarish kind of shape, and it's got a nice bevel right here as well. So that's probably going to be the best reference we're going to find, but I'd like to find something that's more straight on that gives me an idea. Right, so here's a little tip. Here's a little tip for you, right? Whenever you're doing a Google search, the best thing, right, the first thing, honestly, if you're trying to find the largest, best image that you're going to find with the most resolution, you're going to want to go and click right here into your tools section, right? There's going to be this drop downs that lets you know that you can search for the size, the color of the image, the user rights, the type, and the time. What I'm concerned about is the size. And I'm just going to click this large size right here. So now the first images that I'm going to get right here are all going to be the largest image in relation to this coin search that we did. All right, so this is just a little tip for whenever you're searching for reference. And this isn't the only place that you can search for reference, right? Google isn't the arbiter, right? This isn't the end-all be-all when it comes to reference, right? You can go Bing, you can go Internet Explorer if that still exists, Mozilla Firefox, right? You can go to textures.com, right? So textures.com usually has pretty good references. Well, you know, the name itself tells you what the site is. It's a site for textures, and they usually have pretty good references in here. So this is another avenue that you can always check out whenever you're looking for good references. But you know, it's hard to beat a good old-fashioned Google search. So definitely get out there, look for the best references. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to find the image that I want, right? The reference image that I'm going to model from, something preferably straight on. If it's not straight on, that's fine, right? I can compile multiple images together, right, to get myself a better picture of what's really, really going on. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to save this guy right here. Let's see, let's go to my desktop. Let's just make a new coin folder. All right, so coin model. And then I'm just going to duplicate that. No, that's not duplicate. What I mean to say is I'm going to open it. I'm going to make a new folder inside my coin folder. I'm going to call it ref, short for references. Double click inside of it, and then just hit save. Right now, this image is saved into my reference folder. I can go and call on it at any point in time. Those two, in fact, are different, right? They're different. The bevels on those are different. All right, so let's see. Let's find a front image so we can get a decent size. I mean, it's just a cylinder, but I think the practice of getting something to match to scale is very important whenever you're doing a job like this, because people who are going to hire you to do this job are expecting you to follow the dimensions, or at least a relative proportional size to the image or to the reference that they're giving you, right? Because they want their creation to have the right proportions, the right dimensions, right? If there's a bevel somewhere, put that bevel in, right? This is your job, is to interpret what the customer wants, right? This, you know, if you're doing a personal piece, I mean, it's up to, you can do whatever the fuck you want. But if you're making something for a client, you don't want to just do whatever you want. You want to make it to the specifications of your client. All right, so I can't really see what's going on over there. So let me just back up. All right, so let's find our front image again. All right, and once again, the reason I'm doing this is just so that I have like the best reference possible. All right, I can just put it on and have it match perfectly with the circle, so I know that my proportions are correct. But if I can't find the image, I can't do that. So let's find that image again. Okay. I think it is Why is it just going back? Okay, let's go to any size. All right. So now let's save this one. Here it is, right here. So we're just going to save it into the coin folder. I don't need to rename it or anything. It's a JPEG. That's good to go. Now we have our two references in there, and we can continue with our work. So now I'm just going to switch over. If you guys want to go ahead and follow along, you're more than welcome. All right. So the next thing I'm just going to do is I'm going to go in. I'm going to open up 3ds Max, and we're going to get started. All right. So you should have something that looks kind of like this whenever you open 3ds Max. All right. So now that we're in 3ds Max, what are we going to do? All right. So in 3ds Max, there are a few things that you guys should know about the interface. And week 1, I covered that video on basic interface and navigation and things like that. This is more about just kind of diving in. You know what you're doing. You know where the buttons are. You just want to get in there and get started. All right. So whenever I start a project, whenever I start a brand new project, a brand new model, the first thing I want to do is save my scene out. So I'm just going to do File, Save As, and I'm going to find my coin folder, right? That's on my desktop right now. I'm going to go into my coin folder, the coin model, and then I'm going to make a new folder, and I'm going to call it Scenes, and then double click inside of it, and then just save it as coin underscore model. All right, now we've got our scene saved. Now if I hit Control S at any point in time, it just saves my entire scene file. And I recommend you guys save early, save often, because the more you save, the less heartache you're going to give yourself in the long run. All right, so let's start off by making ourselves a plane in our front view. All right, so it doesn't really matter. I can resize it whenever I want. I'm going to hit Alt and W in my front view. I'm going to hit Alt and W, and that allows me to, it's called zoom extents. So whatever view I'm in, it's going to zoom that into the biggest possible window, right? So now I've got my front view zoomed in. If I hit W on my keyboard, right, I'm hitting W, and what that allows me to do is move around my model, right? Your movement tools are W-E-R, right? What I usually have my students do is I have them kind of click through it a few times. And if you look up here, it's responding to that. So like if I hit W, it shows that I'm on my select and move, which is usually called a transform tool, right? Then this is your select and rotate with E, and this is your scale tool. Right, so let's go back to the front view, and I was in the top view right then, but if I hit F, it takes me right to the front view. So that is perfectly fine with me. I'm good to go. I'm just going to hit W again. Now I've got my move tool, right? The reason I've got my move tool out is I want to center this to the center of this grid. Right, this black and white thing right here, this is your grid, and there's a 0, 0, 0 origin that I want my plane to lie on. And if it's not lying on that, well, then my model might not be aligned when you bring it inside the game engine or whatever you want to use it in. There's a lot of things that can go wrong if you don't have your model or your reference and stuff zeroed out. So the easiest way, right, instead of me trying to kind of eyeball it and move it, right, is I'm going to go right down here. If you look right down here, you've got your X, Y, and Z position. And now that I've got that selected, if I just right-click these up and down arrows right there, what it's going to do is it's going to zero anything that I have selected out. So I can do that for all three. The rest of these are zeroed out, so it's not going to do anything. But you guys get the point, right? If I just move this like right there, right, I've moved it. Now you see that I'm -0, 109.92, and then 54, 0.38, right? That's my location in the 3D world space. What I want to do is zero it out. The quickest way to do that, I just showed you, is right click here, and right click here. And it zeroes my plane out. This way, I don't have to worry about it. And then whenever, I have this, I can lock it so nobody can mess with it, or I can't move it, but we're not going to do that just yet. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to get rid of some of these lines in our reference. All right. So let's get rid of some of these lines. So whenever I go and make this plane, I've got these base parameters that come with the plane. So if I go into my Modify tab, it shows me the base parameters, and it says it right here, the parameters for our plane 01. And the first thing I'm going to do is let's just change this from plane 01 to refs. All right, let's do coin ref, just so we know what reference it is, and it helps us find it later, and we're not having to search through our lists or anything to find any objects that we're trying to select. This just keeps you a little better organized, because organization is probably one of the most important things in this job, because it speeds up your workflow, and it makes people who are working behind you or in front of you not as angry whenever they get your work and they have to rename everything, and it's a headache. Trust me, it's a headache. And you don't want to be that guy who didn't name his stuff and everybody's having to wait on, you don't want to be that guy. Trust me. All right? This is coming from experience for you guys. This is coming from experience. So the next thing you're going to want to do is, my length and my width are fine right now. I don't know, based on the image, I might change it, but what the next thing I'm going to do is in my length and my width segments, right? The segs stand for segments. I'm just going to do the same thing that we did here, which is kind of right click it. What it does is it zeroes it out. In this case, you have to have one length and one width segment. So the zeroed out version of the length and width segment, take it down to a base number of 1. So now we've got no lines in between, no horizontal, no vertical lines in our plane. We don't need those. They don't really do anything for us. All right. So the next thing we're going to do now is we're going to hit M on the keyboard. All right. And what M is going to do is it's going to bring up our slate editor, our material editor. Right? And you can't see that right now. Let me add that so you guys can see my slate editor. Let's see. Let's do window capture, and then let's go into this. Okay. All right. Okay. So now we've got our material editor. This is something you guys are going to have to familiarize yourself with, but here is the video editor in all of its glory. All right. So I'm going to create a new physical material. You can create a standard material as well. This works just fine, but we're going to be rendering out this stuff in in a photometric rendering engine. So using photorealistic materials is usually best, because these materials are energy conserving materials, which means that they try to act as close as possible to how the real world would affect objects, or how light would affect objects and things like that. So you generally want to use photorealistic materials, or because they are energy conserving in that sense, right? And there's like the laws of energy conservation and stuff like that. We're not going to go into that right now. That's for a later day. But what we're going to focus on is getting our reference in here. So there's a few ways you can get your reference in here. So if I right click on here, I can go into my materials, general, and nope, actually you're going to right click. Oh, you guys can't see that. Let's see if I can, just going to right click on here, go to maps, general, and then bitmap. So what it's going to do is it's going to pop up a select bitmap image. I'm going to go to my desktop, locate my image in my coin model and my references, and I'm just going to select that front one, right? So it's brought in my reference image, and I know you guys didn't get to see that, but there's another way that you can do it that's just as quick. I can just navigate to wherever that is on my desktop, where that reference is, and I can just drag it and drop it in. So that's exactly what I'm going to do right now. So just open your folder. In my references, I'm going to find my reference, and then I'm just going to drag it and drop it in, right? Drag and drop, right? I can drag and drop both of those, and I don't have to go through trying to find it through my bitmap settings, all right? So now that we've got that going for us, all right, let's move this over a little bit. So now we're just going to start connecting some of these lines. So this version of the material editor is known as the slate editor. The reason is because, well, this is a slate, right? This is a blank slate that you can drag and drop your materials, your functions in here. And this is more representative of a node-based workflow. A node-based workflow is a workflow that allows you to just take these nodes, right? We consider these little guys right here nodes, and we can just drag them and drop them into whatever part of this that allows us to do it. So I can drag and drop this into the reflectivity color, but we don't want it there, right? I'm just going to delete those because I do not want that there. Where I want it is the base color. Right, now that I've assigned it to the base color, I can then assign it to this plane that I've created over here. And to do that, I'm just going to select my my material. And if you look right here on the top bar, you can assign it to that material, or you can assign the material to the object that you have selected. All right, so there's another way. One thing you're going to learn about 3ds Max is there is a ton of ways to do one thing. There's a ton of ways to do the same thing, and that's okay, right? Pick your poison, right? Some ways are just a nudge faster than the other, and if speed is the name of the game, you want to find the fastest way. And the way I like to refer to it as, you can do it the cool guy way, or you can do it the granny way, right? And when I say granny way, I mean like you can do it the slow way. No insult to grannies. I love my grandma, but no insults to grannies. But the granny way, or the the regular cool guy way. The cool guy way will probably get you a job and keep you a job. The granny way is gonna make you really slow. So the cool way, or the cool guy way to do it would be just to drag and drop, right? This node right here, we talked about how we can drag and drop that right here. Right now we've got everything going. We've got our material right here, and we're good to go. Just going to close that out. All right. And let's go in here, and let's just turn off. Let's turn that off. All right. So now we've got our stuff, and our coin is showing. Oh, actually, it's not showing. Why is that not showing right now? The reason is right now our viewport is set to wireframe. So all we get to see is the wireframe of this object. If I click on this wireframe right here, this little tab right here, it drops down a menu for us, and we can use this menu to change it to default shading. And voila, oh, still nothing. All right, don't panic just yet. All right, don't panic just yet. The reason that we don't see this is because, well, we don't have our image here. Oops. Let me lock this actually. This. All right. So we don't have this guy right here set to be viewed in our viewport. And to do that, what we want to do is go right over here, and we're going to click this button that says show shaded in viewport. We don't have anything selected. So I'm going to select this, show shaded in viewport, and boom shakalaka, we've got action. All right, let's turn this off. All right, so at first glance, what I notice is our coin is a little squashed, right? It's a little squashy, right? It's not a perfectly round coin, and we don't want that. We want a perfectly circular coin, right? I can prove that to you by just drawing an actual circle right over top. You can see that we've got ourselves a nice squashed image. We don't want that. What we want is this to respect the aspect ratio of our image. So to do that, we're going to go and select our plane. We're going to drop down this modifier list. And whenever we drop down this modifier list, we just have to type in U. And what that does is it just goes all the way down to the list that has U's in them. And we're going to select what is known as UVW map. All right, so I drop down this modifier list and then I hit UVW map. All right, so let me see if I can configure this so that I can see all my drop downs and stuff. Okay, I guess not. Okay, let's just dive back in. All right, so let's see. Maybe instead of just capturing let me fix something right quick, right? Just give me one moment. Let's stop the recording.